So here's one for both of us. I would like to know what both of you think about socialism and a post-capitalist U.S. Another very light question. Lee, I'll let you go first, buddy.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. You give me all the easy ones. This is T-ball. I don't really subscribe to an ism, but I think people get too caught up in the black and white nature of, are we this ism or are we that ism? We have a lot of socialist programs in our country, whether it's Social Security or Medicaid or Medicare. That is, by definition, people pooling us as a society, pooling our resources together, our money together, and covering, things like the elderly and things like that. So to say those things are horrifying is ridiculous. And it's taken years of generations of social engineering and propaganda to get us to be willing to, shit all over anything with the word socialist attached to it. And luckily, Bernie Sanders' movement kind of removed some of that stigma. But I do think that the market economy it seems to be our undoing. Having a market economy that puts profit over all else, puts profit over life, puts profit over clean water and clean air, it is destroying the world around us. And that doesn't mean that people didn't get some good things out of it. I don't deny that, but I think that it could very well be our undoing, that profit is put above all else. And that comes back to the market economy. And there's far better minds than mine that have kind of analyzed this, that I think have done some great thinking on this. I think everybody should read up on Peter Joseph books about this topic. And I think he's put forward some brilliant thought on it. But, we need to start questioning the market economy as a whole, I think.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Peter Joseph as well. I know that's a colleague and friend of yours, and we recently had him in studio over on the Jimmy Dore show, and there was a really cool discussion between those guys. So yeah, my answer is, I'm totally with you on the isms. Now, I've often said to people that if I had to pick an ism, socialism is the clearest glass that I would subscribe to. But,
does orgasm count or no?
Oh, you know what? I wasn't factoring in orgasm because that brings socialism down to number 2 or maybe number 3. Because I feel like orgasm would have to be selected twice if it counts. I don't know if it does, but yeah. So I've said, well, that seems like the clearest glass, but I'm totally with you. And as far as we need to ask the questions of a market economy. And one thing that Peter Joseph points out that I think is so cool, and it's something that you really never think of, or at least I personally would never just think of in my day-to-day, where he talks about how we had such a long history where there just wasn't money and there wasn't like formalized markets, at least not the way we know them. So this idea that there's nothing else is just a farce. It's actually quite the opposite. And, getting real big picture, I'd like to think that we'll slowly descend. I would love to see, like just sort of a gift economy or something like that. But I think I don't foresee that happening in our lifetimes. But what I would like to see happen would be maybe a descent into something where something like a bartering is of a higher value, but it's done with the intent of actually benefiting the community and making sure nobody goes without.
Well, yeah, and if you look at where our technology is, our unfettered capitalism is forcing us to use technology in often negative ways in kind of positive. So we now have the technology and everything for Uber and Lyft, which are, gutting public transit and other things like that. But that same technology that tells you whether, you can use Uber Pool or whatever, and you can share a car, and it has the algorithms that decide there's several people headed to the same area and they can share this Lyft ride. That same technology could be used for a whole neighborhood to have an app on their phone and share things that people don't use that often, like tools. Like you could have one chainsaw in an entire, 3-mile radius, and everybody's on this community app, and we all just share the chainsaw. But that's not how our community is. Our system is set up. It's set to be that all of us need to own our own, and we have to have it, and it's mine. And it doesn't really. It took a lot of social engineering to get us here, to get us to think that each of us owning a chainsaw that we never use is better than one chainsaw for 1,000 people that we all share. Like, it took a lot of social engineering to get us to think that, and now our environment's collapsing because we all need to own and consume so many things.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of, even just like a gig economy, which people like to refer to it as, like your Ubers and your Lyfts. There's so much potential to do something like what you're saying, but instead we kind of have this obsession with materialism and ownership that we're not really using it that way. But we very easily could. We totally just could, rethink the way we view things and start going that route and using it to benefit a community. And I think there are some corners of the country, and literally corners, because I'm thinking of Bellingham, Washington, where they do like a green economy thing, where they have a formalized bartering thing in place, and it's really benefited their community, and it's a really cool thing. And the other thing to keep in mind, the 1% does that kind of stuff all the time. They scratch each other's backs all the time, and that's how they get along. So it's like, well, everybody should be they're doing it. Like, everybody should be doing it. Not that you want to be like predatory capitalists per se, but to say that this doesn't have value is just a straight up farce. We put value on this. And
you're talking about like the little area pockets, communities that are doing something different. Economist Richard Wolff talks about how the beginnings of capitalism were done in the same way. They were kind of these little pockets of capitalist activity happening around the feudal system, and they were pushed out. It was like legitimately some of the people who wanted to be separate from the feudal system, or had been booted out from the feudal system, were living in the woods. And so these people were living in the woods, and they started trading and having a monetary system and things like that. So it shows that a different economic system doesn't necessarily just have some instantaneous revolution. It can slowly build, and we have to start creating small areas, small worlds of what we want to see.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.